Welcome to Breaking Solo, how solopreneurs break barriers, build brands, and embrace the future of business. Welcome to Breaking Solo, how solopreneurs break barriers, build brands, and embrace the future of business.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again on Breaking Solo. I'm very excited today. My guest is Kyle Bailey. Kyle, thank you for joining us.
Thank
Tell
you
the
so much.
audience, yeah, absolutely. Tell the audience who you are and what you do.
I'm Kyle Bailey. I own Frontburner Marketing, digital marketing agency focused on home service, remodeling, roofers, HVAC, plumbers, anybody who serves the home. I've been doing that for 15 years, founded that in 2010. So we're celebrating 15 years this year. Yeah, so
Yay.
that's me. And I'm writing a book. I'm excited. I'll have it out very soon.
Okay, we'll talk about that later, but I help people write books, so that's kind of exciting
Neat.
to me.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So tell me, what inspired you to go into business solo?
Utter desperation. How's that for a motivation?
Truth. How's that for truth?
Yeah, so after the 2007, 2008 collapse, I did been working in sales in a couple of different facets that face the home industry. And I was also in some physical labor stuff. You know, I was 40, what was I, 38 or something, like 39. And I was right at 40. And so it was a time when I was starting to break down a little bit. A big guy, 6'3", 300 pounds, been big and strong my whole life. But, you know, your back doesn't continue to be young. And so both the financial straits of the collapse and the moment in my life where I'm like, I need to pivot to something that I can do for the rest of my life and not depend on my spine for it, you know. And I had just begun to kind of open my eyes to the digital marketing world about 10 years later than everybody else, it turns out. But I was really fascinated by it and kind of dove in with all 4 feet and just learned the business from the ground up, started representing a guy in sales that needed sales help with it, and just built it up from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's good that I exited the real estate industry in 2008
Wow.
because it
Yeah.
was horrible. I had
Yeah.
agents losing their homes. I mean,
Yeah.
I was managing an office. It was, ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
it was ugly. So I certainly get that you have to, that's when I left and started my agency as well. So
Cool.
what's been your biggest challenge in your solopreneur journey and have you overcome it?
I would say I have two major kind of challenge pipelines. One is personal life stuff that you can't really do anything about, and the other is just the learning curve. I didn't come from a technical background. All of my competitors, like 100% of people in the SEO world, all came from a coding background. They're like, I used to code this, and then I started coding this, and found out I could do that. You know, I'm coming at it from the outside, and I felt like, I mean, you talk about imposter syndrome. Every meeting I went into, I'm like, what? You know, and so it was a real learning curve for those things. But during that, what I found is the fact that I understood sales and the sales process made me stand out because all these SEO guys are all saying the same thing. Optimize your stuff, get on page one, we'll make you page one. I mean, just a bunch of talking heads at that point because the business owner just keeps hearing the same thing and running through one SEO practitioner after another. And that makes it all drown out in white noise. So I figured out fairly quickly. I did a workshop, the 5 steps of the sale and why your website doesn't work. And the just interest exploded. And I was like, whoa, why is this sounds like nobody's heard this before. But in my world, this was common everyday stuff, you know?
Right.
And so I began to understand that the sales process was lacking on that side. So I began to adapt that to it. I was doing very well in 2012, then really took a big next step in 2013. And that's the year that my brother was diagnosed with um, colon cancer. And he was very young and we had no cancer in our family. So it really came out of nowhere, but it was really aggressive, really bad. And so for the next year and a half, we walked through that. And then he passed in 16. And then my dad passed 10 months later. And so
Goodness.
Well, not only that, I actually lost 10 other friends and family relations all in about a 10-month, I mean, a 30-month. From the time my brother was diagnosed, I had one uncle that died that same couple of months around that time. And then through that next 2.5 years, about 10 friends, and then my brother and my dad. So it was a huge season of loss, that I didn't when you're going through a storm, it's very analogous to when the rain all of a sudden dies down, the sun breaks through, then you see the damage. Then you see how bad it actually was. That's what it was like for me. It took a few years to really understand what I'd been through. But it did kind of curtail my career. I got married, and then last year we divorced, and that was that just when we got married, we started kind of doing a different thing. We were working on some ministry stuff, and we were kind of going in a direction. And so my agency stuff, I wasn't pushing it as hard. Still had it; it was still open and everything, but I was doing some other things. And then when she started, I guess, making some signals that this is kind of the way it was going to go. That's when I realized, well, I need to get this back up and running because I'm not going to be doing this other thing anymore. And so that was right at 2 years ago when I reactivated my agency, and not reactivated, but really started pushing it back
Put it
again.
back
And
in.
so now it's adapting to AI. So it's a fascinating thing. The SEO world is never without challenges. It never has been. And business owners, for the same reason, are never without challenges. And unfortunately for them, this is the big one. This is the one they keep hearing that things are changing. They've been hearing that for the last 20 years, but this is the big one. This is the San Francisco quake that everybody's been, yelling about. The AI they've got to adapt to it. So I don't know if I answered your question fully. I may have ADHD this one up there.
No, you did. You fully explained what kind of challenges that life throws at us. It doesn't always have to be a business challenge for
That's
us
right.
to be just pushed off the edge. So I
Yes.
get
Yes.
it. Good for
Yeah.
you for hanging in
Thank you. Thank you.
and, keep pushing through. That's to be admired.
Thank you. I have a quote for you, actually. You may have already heard this one, but I just absolutely love it. Do you know who Alex Hermosi is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm always surprised that anybody doesn't know who he is. There's still people out there who don't, but
Right.
but he's got a great quote, and I think it lines right up with a lot of the stuff you're putting out. The work works on you more than you work on the work. Isn't that great?
Yes. And
It's so
so
simple, but so profound. I think about it every day. There's at least twice a day that quote shows up for me because it's like I'm late diagnosed ADHD. That's another thing. Towards the end of our marriage, that was one of the things that I discovered because that was causing some of the issues. And so to go through that loop, which I'm still going through that, just going through the learning curve of it. And there's a lot of self empathy. There's a lot of, there's self empathy, but at the same time, look, okay, what are you going to do now? For all the reasons. But then that the work works on every time I have to face one of those things of like, I've got to get moving. I've got to make a decision. I've got to make a priority because those are all the things you struggle with my brand of ADHD. And so there's empathy there of like, it's okay to struggle, but what are you going to do next? Now, what's the next step you're going to take?
yeah. That and, so many solopreneurs struggle with that same ADHD. I mean, that's kind of what attracts to being a solo business owner,
Absolutely. Couldn't
is
agree
having
more.
the control and, not having to be under somebody else's thumb.
Don't you think you also get the omnivore thing, that itch scratch? Because you're always doing something different.
Yes, 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 and that in itself is a challenge.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So, you said a little bit about how you found your niche, but how did you, kinda lock in on the home service industry?
Yeah, so I've always helped home service, but I was never niched down completely until 2.5 years ago. And that's when I saw the AI thing coming. And I started looking around thinking, okay, what's the last industry? It's kind of the last industry that's going to be taken over by AI, but also the one that needs the help the most adapting to it. Because the guy with the hammer in his hand on a roof has the least connection to the digital world, in my
Correct.
opinion.
Yeah.
because when you're one of us, like an agency owner or somebody running a digital business, it's we run a set of challenges. We have our own set of challenges, but the home service business owner is completely different because you're a firefighter, you're a babysitter, you're a cat herder. It's all every morning is a new thing of who's not going to show up, who's going to show up and break something, who broke something on the way into work, who didn't tell you about something they broke yesterday. And then the last thing they need to have to mess with is how in the world am I going to adapt my entire business, my branding strategy, my positioning strategy to this AI thing? That's the last thing they have time for, but that's what's coming. I always compare it to the Death Star that's coming around the moon, you know, in Star Wars. And it's like, that's no moon. And that's what's happening. Every day we're seeing a new thing that's rolling out that threatens the marketing and positioning for a home service business.
Yeah, but what I see is that if they would be open to
Mhm.
change and embrace it, AI could help them immensely.
Certainly, in the operational side, there's so many things that AI is gonna do for sure. But
Yeah.
on the marketing side and the positioning side, what's happening, like, for instance, Google is now experimenting with removing the 3-pack. Have you heard about that?
Yep. Yep.
So, what that means that the positioning for a brand now, literally up to last week, it's been, "Okay, we've got the 3-pack, but you're gonna have to adapt to AI for everything else." Now even the 3-pack is getting sucked into it. And so you're losing anything that's not directly connected to how AI digest and present your business. And
Yeah.
you're right, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but you gotta get it. My saying about it is you're out of time. You got no more time to delay. You've got to start today implementing to changing your strategy, changing what you do, how you do it.
Yeah. The whole thing. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with you. Probably a month ago, I read that Google business profiles are eliminated FAQs because they're going to use AI to write their own FAQs for any business.
Yeah, and part of that honestly is because people weren't using the FAQ section.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Which is really a mistake.
It is. Well, even the customers weren't. That's the problem.
Right.
And so but the nice thing is that to a certain level, Google always tells you what it is they want. They're more transparent than any other search engine out there, in my opinion. You could go to the people even today, you can still do this. You can go to the people also ask questions, and Google's telling you there, "This is what we think this query is about that you're asking about." And you can use that. You can use the LSA questions at the bottom that are the extension questions. People you might want to search for these things, and so there's really great opportunities with Google. Google will usually, and their AI is kind of doing the same thing, so it's kind of telling you this is what we think this is about. So yeah, like you said, there's a lot of opportunity out there, but it's not like it was where you've got the opportunity to do SEO or you've got the opportunity to do ads. This is a must because neither one of those ecosystems is going to exist without AI now.
Yeah, exactly. So true. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of a silly question to ask you, but so what industry trends do you think solopreneurs should be paying attention to?
Golly, for home service, AI is number one, two, three, four, and five. You just have to, if you don't want to hire somebody, I totally understand. If you're a roofer out there and you're tired of hiring marketing agencies, I get it. What you should do today is go search your category in your field, in your area. Like you're a Chicago roofer, go out there, search roofing company in Chicago, roof repair in Chicago, ice dam repair in Chicago, ice dam damage roofing companies near me in Chicago, and start looking at how they're returned. Look at the AI overview. How does the AI overview digest that question? You know, and then you can still use the people also asked section and see how Google is digesting that. And then you need to create content about that. One of the popular techniques out there that works really well is to go to like answer the public and look at all the questions around your particular niche. So if it's roof repair, you can look at all how much is a roof repair going to cost? How long does a roof repair last? What are typical materials used in a roof repair? How much, how long is that going to take? How long are they going to be at my house? All these questions, and then create content that answers those questions. And there's a whole AI strategy about positioning your business the way AI wants to see it,
Yeah.
that is a whole other animal. You're probably not going to be able to do that by yourself without investing a tremendous amount of time, but you can start by answering those questions. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Good good tips. Hope people are listening. Okay, so what daily habits or routines help you to stay focused and productive?
Oh, that's a great question. So I have a great team. It took me a long time to understand how to use a team, how to delegate. That was a big mountain for me because I think the biggest problem, especially for ADHD people, we're very sensitive to negative feedback. If we experience a negative feedback loop, we're going to back away from that faster than other people, in my opinion. And that's what I did for a long time. I had a bad experience, so I backed away from it. And what I finally figured out is you've got to understand who people are and where they are. And don't try to, I always tried to make somebody be something they weren't. And it was couched in probably some of my own lack of acceptance of myself. So it was the idea that you can do it. Keep trying. Look at this. Try it this way. Try it that way. And the person's telling me straight up, I can't do that. I'm not that kind of person. Now they're not telling me that in words. They're keeping on trying, but it's clear it's not a good fit. Now they're a good fit for this. And so let them be that. Great. They're a content writer. Great. Let them be a content writer. They can't do SEO. No problem. Now I got an SEO guy over here. He can do SEO. He can't do content writing. Great. He can be that. And I'll tell you, anybody out there who's looking to hire, I'll tell you a couple of tips that have really helped me. One is have very specific instructions and not a lot, maybe 5. Do this, then do that, then do that, and then do that, and then do that. And put that in front of somebody and see how they handle it. And number one, they're probably not going to do all 5 because very few people process everything that you say. If they do, they're a superstar and you need to hire them. Do it
Yeah.
now.
Don't hurt.
Right. But then the correction process is what is important. If they're sullen or they're resistant or blamey, then they're probably not a good fit because that's not going to stop. That didn't happen by accident. But if they, number one, if they get 4 out of those 5 and they kind of go in the general direction of what you're wanting, then they're probably a pretty good fit for you. Now, the other side of that is if they're proactive. And so I'm always looking for people and I tell them up front, don't wait for me. If I tell you to do something, I would rather you try it and get it wrong than to wait for me to come to a place. So, well, I didn't know what to do, so I waited. Because when you find that person who'll take the next step, man, you can work with that. You can work with somebody who will run, you know, but trying to get a walker to run, you can't do it. They're a walker, you know? And so that's how I find the people. And so, there's A players and there's B players. The B players, they'll tell you they're a B player and just let them be. I just had a situation recently where real good guy on my team, I just had tried to get some things done and it didn't happen. And I finally just internally said, okay, this is where he's at. And it's fine for him to be that. There's nothing wrong with that. And some of that probably is learning about myself. And some of it is learning about people and just letting them be where they are. He may rise later on, but right now, this is where he's at. And that's okay.
My struggle for building my team was I thought they should do the task that I gave them. I thought they should do it exactly the way I would do it and not let go and let them just do the task. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the way I would have done it. That took me a while to learn, but
Yeah, Alex Hormozy talks about the 80% rule. You have to understand that people are usually at most only going to do 80% as well as you would do it. And then you have to be willing to accept that. That's your A player, the person who's going to do it 80% as well as you would.
yeah,
But then what you find is they have these little talents. If you let them grow over time, they have other parts that they do better than you would. And now that's when your team starts to shine. When you begin to get that summing action of 5 or 6 people all doing little bits and things better than you would have, now you got a real team.
yeah, if you accept that.
Yes. Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yes. Okay, so what's one piece of advice you'd give someone that's just starting their solopreneur journey?
The rule of 100, you have to do something 100 times. I'm a musician, And it took me a long time to accept this. I didn't accept this for years and it held me back. But I finally had a pro player about the fourth or fifth, 100th time I heard this, a pro player friend of mine. I was like, between one Sunday and another Sunday, he had memorized this really difficult part. And I said, how did you do that? And in my mind, up to that point, I believed that pro players just had a different gene than the rest of us have. And to an extent they do. There is some truth there. But he said, man, I just play it 100 times. And I was like, oh, okay. I just have to work harder. That's what it is. And that's the thing. I mean, now, I tell people all the time when we're talking about music, I'm like, keep a guitar out, pick it up and play it 5 or 6 times a day, but don't just fiddle around and play aimless things. Play that one thing that you've been working on. Play that thing through 5 or 6 times, and you're going to race to 100 faster. And so it's the same thing. If you're going to run ads, run one specific focus type of ad and do it 100 times. Create a piece of content 100 times. Create that type of content 100 times. And what you find is by time about 60, you begin to get a natural feel for it. And about time 80, you really you're starting to hit that next gear. And then by 100, the light goes on. And the number of times I've heard people say that in all walks of life. I just heard, gosh, I wish I could remember it. Somebody interviewing about, it was one of those shorts you see, and it was about performers. It was about movie stars. And it was like this particular guy, I worked with him, and they told me he reads the script 100 times. Then he goes and does the work. And he said, I couldn't believe it was that. I thought he had some great talent, but he just goes and reads the script 100 times. Then he shows up and does the work.
Yeah,
And
because
then De
now he's
Niro,
prepared.
I did, yeah. And it's this uniform thing of the professionals invest the time. And Alex Hormozy talks about it all the time. These other people that have risen to a position, you just have an iteration factor that you can't ignore. You've just got to go and put in the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Great advice. Okay, so tell us, do you have any exciting projects or launches coming up that you'd like to share?
Well, I'm writing the book. The book is titled What's Your Story? It is for home service business owners. And what
Awesome.
I've discovered over time is that roofers, remodelers, HVAC, plumbers, they have a difficulty in understanding the value of their story and how much people want to understand it and know it. But then also with the rise of AI, brand mentions are going to be a key factor very, very soon, maybe as soon as like 4 or 5 months. And then AI being able to understand that brand entity is going to be a huge factor in a companion way, like a hand in hand way. And so that's the goal of the book. The goal of the book is to give the home service business owner the tools to be able to build their own story, to reveal really their own story, starting with your core values. And now you work out to your team values. And now, once you've done this exercise, your entire team is living and breathing this story. And if you've branded well, then your truck rolls up to a home, and that homeowner's having a completely different experience than they were 6 months ago, because this story is just coming out of every pore of the company.
Yeah, that's good. So will they find that on your website?
Yes, very soon. The book should be out within a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'll actually have a website dedicated to the book.
To the book.
But yeah, it'll also be on my book at on my website, Frontburner Marketing. Yes.
Okay. So when you launch the book,
Mm-hmm.
send me the new URL for that, and I'll add it to the show notes, even after
Thank
we're
you. Thank you.
published. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
sure. Okay, so where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
I put out content all the time on YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram. So I'm Burner Marketing on Twitter and, well, X and Instagram. I'm the Kyle Bailey on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then, of course, my website, frontburnermarketing.net. Net.
Okay, awesome. And so those links will be in the show notes, folks, so you don't have to try to remember them. And so I'm going to ask you another question because you mentioned YouTube. Do you get your home service clients to use YouTube?
That's funny that you mentioned that. That's a service we're rolling out like imminently, because the struggle has been getting them in front of a camera.
Yes.
And so it's coming up with content that we can be consistent enough to matter. And so that's what we're rolling out. We're rolling out a content package to put out on YouTube because what has happened is search is fractured. So 5 years ago, even it was Google. Now some people only search people on Facebook. They never leave Facebook for search. Some people never leave Instagram. Some people never leave YouTube. And so you've got to be in all those places. You may have heard this. It's getting around a lot. But instead of search engine marketing, it's now being called search everywhere marketing. You just have to put your presence out on all the major platforms. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have an attorney that we started doing, well, this is probably 8 years ago, frequently asked questions
Yeah.
that we would publish every week. And now we publish every other week, but he gets clients every month from those frequently asked questions on
Yep.
YouTube
Yep.
because people have developed, they trust him now
Yep.
because they've seen him so much. He
Yes.
answers the questions they have. It has worked great for him. I have such a hard time, though, getting clients to do that.
Yep. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult to get people on camera. It's difficult for them to take time out of their day, you know,
Yeah,
hard to do that.
yeah.
But it's valuable. People should do
It
it.
is. It is. Kyle, thank you so much for being with me today. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Folks, if you have not liked, write us a review, subscribed, any of the above, please go do it now for the podcast. And I just want to mention that we just recently launched a course, which is called publishtoprofitcourse.com. Go check it out, especially if you've considered writing a book. And you should, because it's a great marketing tool.
Yes. Go do all that stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.